going to move to the macrocosmic tree of life, and we're going to see how that arrangement of the second 11 cards of the major arcana of the tarot tell us all about the forces at work in nature. And it'll also tell us about the two ways that a civilization can go. All right, so let's look at that. So here I've built the macrocosmic tree of life from the second 11 cards of the major arcana of the tarot deck. So 0 through 21. 21 is a very sacred number. It represents the tripling of 7. That is the number that represents man coming into union with the divine, coming into God-like consciousness, not being God, but coming into a level of consciousness that embodies the divine, and in other words, natural law. So in the dot position, we have now the world, or in some decks, the universe. Okay, so we had the soul card in the dot position on the microcosmic tree, and now we have the universe or the world in the dot position, the position of knowledge in the macrocosmic tree. Perfectly consistent. All right. So, we have the forces of nature, the lion, the man, the bull, and the eagle. The four cardinal points of the zodiac, the four cardinal directions. You have the gospel writers, they were depicted as the forces of nature, earth, air, water, and fire, etc. You can go on and on with what those represent. So let's start the journey of the understanding of the forces at nature, the forces at work in nature. So in the Malkut position of kingdom, the lowest level, base identified consciousness, you have the card called Judgment, represented by the angel of revelation blowing the trumpet, a call to awakening. This is a clarion call to awaken. We are being called up out of our slumber. We are being called up out of earthly, base identification and ego identification to a higher level of understanding. Some people will answer that call. Some will not. Some will be resurrected. Some will stay dead. Okay, so if they do indeed resurrect through desire for light, desire for knowledge, desire for truth, then they will come out of those tombs. If not, they will stay in the realm of judgment, which is Malkuth. And if we move forward, I would say going up to the next level, again, one of the most important cards in the deck, and again, the orange card. Another theme throughout the day here, this orange color, representing desire, representing choice. This is a card that I feel represents choice. The card represents the light, knowledge, truth, the sun. Again, we saw all of that in the symbolism section. That card is the truth card. What's the light that's calling us up from that Malkuth position that the angel's blowing the trumpet for behind her head? It's the light, it's the sun, it's truth. This is the truth card of the deck. But it also represents a choice because the paths converge from that point. In this arrangement, I do feel that there is a negative connotation on the left-hand path and a positive connotation on the right-hand path, as we will see when I further break this down. The left-hand path going from this point forward represents the rejection of truth. The right-hand path up the tree represents the acceptance of truth. Okay? The middle pillar represents the choice point that we have to either receive or not receive truth. And then the middle card there, as we will see at the Tiferet position, means the care to change. Ultimately, that's the change card. All right? So if we decide to not receive truth, to reject truth, we go to this position. Okay, so this is the moon, which again, symbolically represented in Freemasonry, that darkness side. You can look at it as a feminine symbol, a piece of feminine symbolism as well. But in this connotation, it means night, darkness. the pillar of mercy, the star card represents all of the other lights of the heavens that are suns. And as such, this is the alchemy card. It represents that we have decided to accept truth into our lives and integrate it. When we move up to the next layer, we're at the heart chakra now. And again, look, folks, that yellow level represents will. Okay, we're making a decision in will, in our guts, whether to accept truth or not. So that principle is what creates change in our lives and in the whole society. So this is the change card, and this card itself is neither negative or positive. It simply represents change, often sudden change. Because once truth is either accepted or rejected, sudden change follows. And I think the choice point that, this symbolically really represents, I think 9/11 was one of the defining hallmarks of our time. And the rejection of that truth, I think, has set humanity off onto the left-hand path. We have to care enough to bring it back to that, point of accepting truth, and maybe we can get up the other side, up to the middle at the top at some point. But, the symbolism of 9/11 here is actually very overt, actually. The thunderstruck tower. Sudden change could be for the good, could be for the bad. Change is always happening. Now we're moving up to the next level, the throat chakra. Again, you have severity here. What follows the rejection of truth as you go up that left-hand side? Self-imposed slavery under dark forces. This is where humanity's at. That's where we're at now because of the level of truth that we've rejected. And I always point out, as do other researchers who have deeply studied the symbolism of these cards, the chains are self-imposed. They're loose around their neck. They could take them off at any time. He's not holding them there with tight chains. Those chains could be easily slipped off over the head. Conversely, the other side of the tree represents what could happen if we make the other choice. If we accept the truth of creation in the form of the light of the sun, and we start to go up the right-hand pillar, this is the pillar of mercy, the middle of it, the mercy card, the temperance card, then we're on the road to sovereignty, the road to the crown, right? Everything is flowing. The being is becoming enlightened. This is the freedom card of the tarot, whereas the devil card is the slavery card. So we have the call to awakening and free will at the bottom. We have truth, the sun card. We have the rejection of truth, the moon card. We have the acceptance of truth, the star card. We have change, rapid onset of change, the tower card. We have the slavery card, the devil card. And now we have the card that represents freedom societally. Once we have accepted truth, we can have that state of consciousness, freedom. We move through the knowledge card, which is at the dot position, the world, the knowledge of natural law, the knowledge of the universe, and we get to the final expression of the pillar of severity, death, extinction, stagnation, entropy. This is what ultimately results, the foiling of the evolutionary process. That's what happens when we go up the left-hand path of rejection of truth and slavery, ultimately leading to death, extinction, and undifferentiated chaos at some point. Now, this is the entropy card of the tarot deck. That's the force that this card ultimately represents, the death card. And you're seeing he's mowing down all the institutions. No one is safe. Everyone is going to go. This is the cataclysm card. Like we talked about in the theosophy section. Eventually, nature abhors when we continually reject truth and, pollute ourselves and the world, and eventually it comes in and cleans house. It's the weeding process that can happen and will happen should we not change. So that's the entropy card. Now we go to the opposite side, the active side of the tree of life. And this is the syntropy card, the ordering force. The hanged man is not a negative card. It's probably one of the most powerful and positive pieces of symbolism in the deck. This is the enlightened man who is doing the true will. I would call this the true will card. You know, that's the initiate. That's having accepted the truth, having gone forward and worked to create freedom. And now this is the true evolution of consciousness. That's what this force represents. The ordering principle, the evolution of consciousness at the top of the pillar of mercy. This is the evolution card. This is what I would call the syntropy card, the force that counteracts the force of entropy and chaos. This is the order card of the deck. Such powerful allegories rolled into all of this symbolism. I mean, the people who put these systems together, you know, all I'm doing here is providing an interpretation. And then we get to the highest force in creation, the force that governs it all: natural law, justice, the king on his throne that can never be unthroned, can never be dethroned. This is the force of truth and will and freedom and love and evolution and law in nature. It's the will of God card, you could call it. It's the boundary conditions of the Creator card. Again, in my natural law seminar, I put this card forward as the card of the tarot deck, which represents natural law itself, because that is what it is. This is what the dark occult wants to dethrone and usurp the position of. They want to be God. They want to be the law. Ultimately, that is the most important card of the entire tarot deck, because it is the law card itself. And this is the understanding of natural law is ultimately the only thing that can resurrect this species and put us onto a new path. That is what the dark occultists don't want us to understand, which is why I have always referred to the knowledge of natural law as the most occulted knowledge on the earth.